Assalamu alaikum ji. I'm Toshiba Sarwar and I am part of the faculty teaching business studies here at Aitchison College, and I'm part of the academic counseling for US admissions. And it's a very, very exciting and dynamic activity, responsibility where we have the young boys with their own vision, inspirations, and then at the other end we have their dream colleges and universities, and then we have to find a common point and where the tangents where both sides, the visions and the dreams, comes to reality. So that's what I'm associated with at Aitchison. Well, two things. You cannot compare Aitchison with others because of the legacy and the history that Aitchison carries. So I'm sure we all know that apples should be compared with apples and oranges should not be compared. So comparing Aitchison with any other private counseling firm or any other school's counseling firm would be a little tricky and odd to work on. Aitchison has its own legacy, and the students that we have are a part of a system which has matured over 138 years. The distinctive position in the field of education in Pakistan that Aitchison has a very enriching history to it. The positioning is different. Our kids from the very outset, when they start in the junior schools or the prep schools, they've been trained over a period of time to be able to think creatively and to be able to have a futuristic approach. So by the time the senior school kids, who are young minds, and the gentlemen of Aitchison, as we call them and as they prove themselves to be, they have some defined lines that they want to toe for their career. So our responsibility becomes more than just having them admitted to any good university. They do not want to settle for less than the best. And for going to the best universities in the world, you need to know yourself better. You need to work on yourself as an individual, as a professional. And our kids, on one end, if they're working on excelling academically, simultaneously they're working on developing their personalities, identifying their strong areas, overcoming their weaknesses through a set of diversified extracurricular activities. We have more than 20 societies. So you could pursue science, you could pursue arts, you could pursue debates, dramatics, business, history, environment management, sustainable development, and so on and so forth. Model United Nations, MUN is one of the important events that we work on. So our students get a very diversified field to operate on. And from the very outset, when they come to the senior school, they start interacting with a lot of students from their external environment, which is not just confined to the domestic level. So they are interacting with students at the national level, and they are interacting with students at the international level. And it's the exposure and the experiences that actually carves out the mindset which is set for futuristic achievements. So our kids, and if our kids are like that, I'm sure you can understand that the counselors have to be updated at par with how things are moving ahead. So I end up saying many a times that we live in information overload, because we have to stay abreast with all the latest trends, how the universities outside Pakistan are operating and looking at Pakistan. Yes, we have a challenge that we have a certain perception about the brand Pakistan itself. And then Aitchisonians are usually carving out and creating a new position for that brand Pakistan. So that makes our department, our more dynamic, more responsible. We need to be, and we have very good communication ties and communication links with the universities around, with the US education departments, and we have to keep working on finding other ways where we could help facilitate the people, the students who are already so highly energized, who have experience and exposure, and who do not want to settle lower than the best. So department at Aitchison is not just any commercial department that you might have in the private sector as a private firm. And since our students are the national level students, since we have a boarding house, so we're not catering to local students based in Lahore. We have students coming from all over Pakistan, from Gilgit, Baltistan, Hunza, Waziristan, KPK, Balochistan, Sindh, and they bring in such enriching cultures, and they have their own inspirations, their own role models, their own dreams that they want to live and make them colorful. So the department at Aitchison, the career counseling or academic counseling department at Aitchison, cannot be compared with any other department or any other private firm.
Okay, there is no doubt about it that there is excessive work when we come towards counseling, especially when it's deadline cycles. But Alhamdulillah, we have an ample team to not compromise the quality of applications. This department is headed by Ms. Sara Malik, and there is also Ma'am Toshiba, who has recently joined us, and there is Sir Muhammad Asad, who is the counseling assistant and does a very valuable job by constantly giving us all kind of help regarding the admissions process, the documents that we need. So what happens is all of us work as a team together, and I think this is a very sufficient team to manage all the students, and it is like an ongoing process. It's not like that it starts now and then it ends then. It starts from the very beginning, from C1 and C2, and then goes on and on, even after the kids are admitted to the universities, because we're still sorting their financial aid issues, or maybe some kids get waitlisted and we are still, sending letters of continued interest, and we're still uploading their mid-year transcripts and then their final results, etc. So the support over here is ongoing, and the success rates that you talk about are alhamdulillah brilliant. They're 70% plus. So out of every 10 kids that apply to the US, 7 or more alhamdulillah get acceptances. But these rates are also not complete right now, because we're still getting a few acceptances in our data. These are completely based upon self-reported acceptances and another resource that we use online, but there is quite a few that are still not reported, and maybe inshallah when they are included, the success rate will even go higher. So with Aitchison US Admissions Department, we have some internal deadlines that the students need to adhere to. There are few exceptional, unavoidable circumstances in which we give flexibility to certain students, but most of the students adhere to deadlines, and once the internal deadlines are up, the counselors are busy uploading all the applications, and we make sure that every kid's application is submitted well before the external deadlines. So for that purpose, we do need to keep internal deadlines, and we make sure that all the kids follow them. So what happens is, we don't spoon feed kids, we guide kids. So when we sit with the students, we try to assess them, what are their strengths, what are their passions. If they're confused, we can nudge them in the right direction. We can lay out all the resources and options in front of them and help them make an informed decision with the help of their teachers and the parents and families involved, because this is not an individual task. The application process is teamwork with the counselors, teachers, school admins, students, and the students' families involved. There are so many aspects to it. Financial aid, which the family knows best what position they are in and what situation are they going to, profess to the universities, what kind of aid are they looking for. And of course, what field the child picks or wants to pick is totally dependent upon that student. because they will excel in what they are good at and what they enjoy doing. So we don't advise parents to force things on them, neither do we force things on them, but at the same time, the parents are way more experienced, the counselors are way more experienced. They will definitely advise the students, nudge them in the right direction, show them the options. This is what you can end up doing if you pick these subjects. These are the fields that you can choose from. If you go to this university, these are the requirements that you need to fulfill. And so many other nitties and gritties.
So this is Dr. Naila Berni Chukhtai, and my occupation, again, I'm a teacher through and through. But for the last 11 years now, I've been working in this capacity as an academic counselor, university guidance counselling plus academic counselling. My teaching career actually started in 1995 from Aitchison, and that was almost close to 30 years back, and loved it. Why did I come into teaching? Because, well, the usual answer that, that's what I wanted to do ever since I was this high, but I actually did want to do it, as long as, for as long as I could remember. I am different, I work differently. I'm sure there are others who might be doing the same things, but I'm not aware of, what others are doing, especially other schools are doing. What I learned, again, when I came in, so understanding was, and I was perceived as, okay, fine, hum H2 mein aa gaye, now madam is gonna help us with our university application. We'll get the applications done, submit them, and then the decisions will come in. That was the start of it. But ever since I started in this capacity, in this office, I felt that there was something missing, and that something missing was that I was getting students who were coming in not knowing why they'd chosen those subjects that they were studying, those 4 or 5 years back, and they'd gone through with those subjects not knowing why. And so over the years, in the next 2 or 3 years when I started, I realized that gap needs to, we need to fill that in. So I started reaching out to, M2s were here in the senior school then, M2s, C1s, C2s, I'd have sessions with them, I'd have general sessions with them. Just the word got around that, madam talks about subject selection as well. I think it is so important, all right, that you start, again, as I say, grassroots level mein kehti hu, but junior school na karo, but at least prep school. And we've done that as well. We've gone to the prep school, we've had meetings there with the boarding house students as well, in a very small capacity, but that gap we need to bridge that gap, all right? So understanding, helping students understand at that level why we are where we're at. So the subjects that we have, and then particularly coming into the senior school, the subjects that we are now choosing, why are we choosing these subjects? Do we see ourselves, heading in that direction? So that had not been happening. And I feel that was something that I did bring into it. As I said, the first 4.5 years of me coming in as a counselor, there was no other counselor here, no one. So I was just, it was, I was learning as I was going along, and it was a huge responsibility as well. But I started this very early on. Pehla saal hi mera guzra, by the second year, I made sure that the M2, C1, C2 parents, the parent meeting and all of that. So that started. And I feel that that's a big one. So it's when you say academic counselling, that's critical. Career counselling, that's critical. All right. So trying to help students understand that, what your aptitude is something that you need to build up on. The biggest hurdle that I came across initially was again the same, Madam Doctor Banna hai. And the Doctor Banna wala, and the next question, who's it that's forcing you, would either be the mother or the father. And while I respected that, so that was a big conversation, getting people to move away from just the medical and the engineering field. And there's a bigger world and a wider world and a more receptive world out there that's waiting for young people. So us cheez se shift karna, and the shift has happened happily. So, all these things. So I feel that that's something that I've brought to this field. I'm sure there are others who are doing the same. But between this, our institution and the other schools and all, I can't really say. I would, however, say one thing. I expect, or ye meri ek cheez thi, because Aitchisonians, so close to my heart and all, I felt that Aitchisonians don't need these private counselors. And meri jo shuru ki jang thi na, when I was doing the US counseling as well. And an old student of mine said that, madam, don't worry. Because I'd be in bits every day. I'd be crying my heart out. Ye sunte nahi hai, aur ye private counselors ke kahan jate hain, and all of that. So I was told ki jihad hai jo aap lad rahi hain, and I literally fought it like a war, and people hated me for that. but getting them to, come back to the school, you need to rely on yourself. You don't need anyone. You have a service here, the counselors are here, but Aitchisonians particularly, and I'd say that, or any young person, I'll take it beyond Aitchison as well, any young person who's ready to go into the world, go into any top, हम कहते हैं कि जी हमने Stanford, Harvard, Yale जाना है, yet we can't even write our own essay. We are so ill-confident about ourselves. We can't do our own thing. We can't write our essay. We can't do our supplements. We can't set up our activities. That, to my mind, still doesn't work. I don't know why. So yes, all of that, was my fight, was my war, and I've fought it. So I don't think that other counselors, and I've met them over the years, वो कहते हैं क्यों इतना फिक्र करती हो, क्यों इतनी परेशान होती हो, so why bother? So I feel that that's there.